My stepdaughter said that I was not her father after 15 years of raising her, so I left her and stopped financing her. We were standing in front of her school. She had just turned 19, but in that moment she looked like the little girl I used to carry on my shoulders when her legs got tired. Her face, however, was different, tight, unreadable. I remember thinking she had inherited her mother's expression when upset, a cold stillness behind the eyes. "Can we talk?" she asked, eyes downcast, shifting the strap of her bag on her shoulder. "Of course," I said, not hesitating for even a second. That was my role, always ready, always there. She led me to the nearby park bench we had sat on 100 times before. I had taught her how to ride a bike just across from it. She broke her arm near the swings when she was 10. I still remembered the panic, the drive to the ER, the way she clutched my hand the entire way. And yet, today she didn't reach for my hand. She sat a few inches too far. "I've been thinking a lot," she said finally, staring at the ground. Her voice didn't tremble, but mine nearly did just hearing her speak like that. There was a wall rising between us, thick, cold, invisible. "About what?" She inhaled, then exhaled in one heavy breath. "You're not my dad." I blinked. "I mean, biologically, obviously, but I don't mean just that. I mean, I don't see you as my dad." I felt my chest cave in. For 15 years, I had raised her. I met her mother when she was 4. She was shy and quiet and clung to her mom's leg the first time I walked through their door. And slowly, over time, she opened up. She asked me to tie her shoelaces, to read her bedtime stories, to check under the bed for monsters. I was there for her recitals, science fairs, heartbreaks, late-night fears. I stayed up during her stomach flu, held her while she cried about a boy in 9th grade, and cheered louder than anyone when she got into her dream university. But in one sentence, all of that collapsed. All those memories I cherished, were they just mine? "I never asked you to raise me," she continued. "You chose to. And I appreciate it, I do. But that doesn't mean you're my dad. I didn't choose you." It was the kind of truth that hurts more than lies ever could. I didn't speak for a while. I couldn't. My tongue was heavy, as if weighted with all the bedtime stories I'd told her that suddenly meant nothing. My chest felt hollow. "Why now?" I finally managed. "Why tell me this now?" She shrugged. "I've been thinking a lot since Mom died. About who I am, where I come from. I've started talking to my biological father. I want to build a relationship with him." That was a punch I didn't expect. Her real father. The one who left before she could even form a sentence. The man who never sent birthday cards, who never visited, who never asked how she was doing. That was who she wanted to connect with. "Does he know who taught you how to ride a bike?" I asked bitterly, immediately regretting the tone. "Does he know who stayed up all night when you had appendicitis? Who paid for your dance classes, your braces, your school trip to DC?" "I didn't come here for a list," she replied coldly. "I came here because I thought you deserved honesty." Honesty. That was the worst part. Because it was honest. Painfully so. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't emotional. She was calm, almost detached. I nodded slowly, trying to process the weight of her words. 15 years, undone in 15 minutes. "Then I'll be honest too," I said. "I can't keep doing this." Her eyes narrowed. "Doing what?" "Paying for everything. Acting like your father. Carrying all the weight while you reject everything that came with it." "So this is about money?" she snapped, her first sign of emotion. "No," I said. "This is about meaning. You just told me I'm not your dad. If that's true, then I have no obligations. No rights. No role. I'm a stranger who lived in your house for a while. So maybe it's time I started acting like one." She didn't respond. She just looked at me, truly looked at me, for the first time in the conversation. Her expression was unreadable. I stood up. I felt cold. Numb. Like the man who had walked into this park wasn't the same one walking out. "I hope he's everything you need," I said softly. And then I walked away. Not home. Not back to our place. Not to the memories still hanging on the walls. I walked into the city, away from the life I had helped build, feeling like a ghost inside my own story. The first night away from the house was hollow. I rented a room downtown, in a faceless apartment building surrounded by gray. Everything felt muted, colors, sounds, even my own thoughts. It was like my mind had gone into survival mode, pushing every feeling to the background, like garbage swept under the rug. I stared at the ceiling for hours. No TV. No distractions. Just the buzzing silence and the rhythmic hum of traffic below. I thought I'd cry. I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't want to, it was like the well had dried up. I had been emptied. Emptied by words I never expected to hear from someone I loved as fiercely as if she were my own blood. The next day, I made it official. I called her university's finance office. I asked them to remove my payment authorization. They were polite but confused, asking me to confirm my identity 3 times. "She's not my daughter," I said plainly. "Not anymore." Hanging up that phone felt like cutting a cord that had tied me to something sacred. Something irreplaceable. The part of me that had always planned to walk her down the aisle someday, to hold her firstborn, to be the kind of father she could lean on no matter what, that part had to be buried. A few hours later, she texted. "Did you cancel the tuition payments?" I didn't answer right away. I stared at the message for nearly an hour. My thumb hovered above the screen. What do you say to someone who decided you were no longer family? Eventually, I typed back. "Yes. You said I wasn't your father." Her response came minutes later. "You didn't have to be petty about it." Petty. I clenched the phone so hard I thought the screen would crack. Petty? After 15 years of raising her like my own? After stepping up when her real father vanished? I didn't reply. Not to that. Some words don't deserve a response. That night, I pulled out an old USB drive from my duffel bag. I hadn't meant to take it, but it was still clipped to my keychain from before I left. It held years of photos, birthdays, holidays, beach trips, school plays. Her first tooth falling out. Her 8th birthday when we camped in the backyard and she insisted we stay up all night watching the stars. I watched the pictures roll across my laptop screen like a funeral slideshow. That little girl, the one in the pink pajamas who used to fall asleep on my chest after story time, where did she go? Was she ever really mine? The hardest thing wasn't the silence. It was the memories. They attacked you when you least expected it. In a coffee shop, someone played a lullaby I used to hum to her. In a bookstore, I saw a copy of her favorite childhood novel. At a red light, I passed a dad holding his daughter's hand as they crossed the street, and for a second, I saw us. Me and her. Before everything. 1 week turned into 2. I didn't call. She didn't either. I heard from a mutual friend that she was staying with a roommate now. That she'd had to find work to help cover tuition. That she'd been trying to contact her biological father more often, but he wasn't exactly responsive. Of course not. Men like that are good at disappearing. And yet, she was willing to rebuild something with him. Not me. The one who stayed. The one who chose to love her without needing DNA as a reason. The unfairness stung like acid. But what I kept turning over in my head, day after day, was this: had I failed her? Had I made her feel like she couldn't belong? Or had she simply outgrown me, the way some kids do with their old toys and fairy tales? The guilt gnawed at me, even as I tried to bury it beneath anger and pride. One rainy afternoon, I drove past the old house. Our house. The lights were off. A "for sale" sign had been planted into the front lawn like a gravestone. I pulled over, engine idling, wipers rhythmically brushing the windshield. It hit me then, all at once, this was really over. Not just the house. Not just the payments. But the idea of us. I had spent 15 years building a family out of nothing but commitment and faith. And in the span of a few days, it was dismantled, because biology apparently trumped every memory, every hug, every scraped knee and shared dream. I sat in that car for an hour. I never went inside. The house wasn't mine anymore. Neither was she. A month passed. Then 2. There was a time when we couldn't go more than a day without texting each other. Now, we were 2 ghosts haunting the same memories, orbiting each other's lives without contact. It was strange, realizing how quickly someone can become a stranger, even someone you once loved more than yourself. I'd moved into a smaller place by then. 1 bedroom. Bare walls. Just enough space for a man who had trimmed his life down to essentials. No more fridge magnets with school pictures. No boxes of art supplies or glitter-glued Mother's Day cards labeled, for Mom and Dad. I kept 1 photo. Just 1. The 2 of us sitting on a park bench when she was about 6. Her cheeks were rounder then, her grin missing a tooth. I kept it in the drawer, not on display. Some wounds don't need frames. I told myself I was moving on. That I had done the right thing by stepping back. But every night I still thought about her. Not out of regret. More like, unfinished grief. One evening, I saw her by accident. She was crossing a busy intersection downtown, phone in hand, a backpack slung over one shoulder. She looked older somehow, tired in a way youth usually isn't. She didn't see me. I stayed in my car and watched her disappear into the crowd. I wanted to roll down the window, call her name, ask if she was eating enough, sleeping enough, if she'd figured out how to fix the busted zipper on her coat she used to always complain about. But I didn't. Because I had given up that right. Or maybe she had taken it. Either way, I wasn't the man she came to for answers anymore. A few weeks later, I got a voicemail. It was her. She hadn't called. She hadn't even texted. Just a voicemail, short and quiet. Hey. I heard you moved. I don't know why I'm calling. I'm not doing so great, I guess. Things didn't really work out the way I thought they would. That's all. Okay. Bye. I must have listened to it 10 times. Memorized the pauses, the tone, the hesitation in her breath when she said, I don't know why I'm calling. That one line replayed in my mind for days. It was a crack. A thin break in the wall she had built. And I didn't know what to do with it. Part of me wanted to rush to her side, fix everything like I always had. Be the parent, the safe harbor, the one who never let her drown. But I remembered what she said. I don't see you as my dad. That line still lived inside me like a splinter in bone. So instead, I did nothing. I didn't call her back. I didn't even text. I sat in the quiet, wondering if silence could be both punishment and protection. Then, on a Saturday morning, I got a letter. An actual letter. Folded into thirds, handwritten in her familiar, careful print. It read. I didn't know what I was doing when I said those things. I thought I needed to understand where I came from, but I ended up destroying the only family I ever really had. I've spoken to my biological father twice. That's all. He's polite, but he's not interested in being anything more than a name in my contact list. I thought that would be enough, but it wasn't. You were there. Always. And I told myself it didn't count because we weren't blood. But it did. I'm sorry I said what I said. I didn't realize how much I needed you until you were gone. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know the truth. I folded the letter and held it in my hands for a long time. I had imagined every kind of apology. I'd rehearsed 1,000 versions of her saying, I was wrong, in my head, but this? This was real. Messy. Broken. Human. Still, I didn't know what to do. Forgiveness isn't something you can manufacture. It takes time. Space. Healing. But that letter, it cracked something open in me too. Not forgiveness yet. But maybe, the possibility of it. I wrote her back. I kept it short. Thank you for the letter. It meant a lot. I hope you're taking care of yourself. I'm here. That's all. It wasn't a door wide open. But it wasn't shut anymore either. After I sent the letter, days passed without a word. I didn't expect a reply. I didn't write it to start something, just to let her know I hadn't disappeared completely, even if I had stepped back. But still, every time I checked the mailbox or refreshed my phone, I felt that same dull ache of waiting. Like standing in the rain, hoping for thunder but getting silence. Then, a week later, she called. It wasn't another voicemail. It was her voice, live, uncertain, nervous. "Hi," she said. I didn't speak right away. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't trust what would come out if I opened my mouth too quickly. "I wasn't sure you'd answer," she said. "I wasn't sure I would either," I replied honestly. There was a pause. And then, "Can we meet?" That word, we, it hadn't been used in months. There hadn't been a we since she told me I wasn't her father. But I heard something in her voice that I hadn't in a long time: humility. Maybe even hope. We met at the same park bench where she first broke my heart. She looked smaller. Not physically, but softer. Like the armor she had worn during that last conversation had cracked and finally fallen away. She sat down first. I followed. The air was cool, but the sky was clear. "I'm sorry I hurt you," she said quietly. "You did," I answered. "You really did." She nodded, as if expecting that. I think I was angry, and confused. Losing Mom. I didn't know where to put all that grief. I wanted answers. I wanted control. I thought finding my biological dad would give me that. It didn't. She laughed bitterly. "He's a stranger. We talked twice, like I said. He doesn't ask how I'm doing. He didn't even remember my birthday." "I did," I said, not meaning to sound smug. She looked up. "I know." Another pause. Another deep breath. "I've been going to therapy," she added. "They're helping me understand some things. About identity. About family. About you." That caught my attention. "What about me?" "I realized I punished you for not being something you never claimed to be. You never pretended to replace my father. You were just, you. And that should have been enough." I turned toward her, really looking this time. Her eyes were tired, but sincere. "I didn't stop loving you," I said, finally. "Even when I walked away. I just didn't know how to love you while you were pushing me out." Her lips trembled. "I didn't stop loving you either. I just forgot how." The silence after that felt different. Not heavy. Not cold. Just full. Like something waiting to be healed. "I'm not asking you to come back and be my dad again," she said. "I know I can't undo everything." I nodded. "You're right. You can't. But maybe we can start over," she added. "Not as father and daughter, if that's too much. Maybe just, two people who miss each other." That broke me more than anything she could have said. Because that's all I'd ever wanted. To not be forgotten. To not be discarded like 15 years of my life didn't mean anything. "Okay," I said. "Let's start there." She smiled. And for a second, I saw the little girl again. The one who used to call me daddy in the middle of the night after a bad dream. The one who held my hand too tight during thunderstorms. The one who once asked me if I'd still love her if she grew wings and flew away. Yes, I had told her back then. Even if you flew to the moon, I'd still be here when you came back. And maybe, somehow, that promise still held true. Starting over wasn't simple. She didn't move back in. I didn't resume paying her tuition. We didn't go back to weekly dinners or shared holidays right away. It wasn't some movie moment with hugs and tears and perfect closure. Instead, we took cautious, measured steps. A coffee once a week. Text messages with no expectations. Occasional calls that began with silence and ended with something close to laughter. I didn't call her kiddo again. Not yet. That word had weight. It belonged to another era, an era that we were both still grieving in our own way. She sent me a photo one morning. It was of a crumpled napkin on which she'd scribbled a small poem. She said she'd written it during a class break. It was about roots and wings, about feeling pulled between where you came from and where you need to go. No names. No details. But I knew it was about us. I printed it and stuck it on my fridge. Not long after, she invited me to her campus poetry reading. I went, sat in the back, trying not to be noticed, trying even harder not to cry when she got up to read. She didn't look for me in the crowd. She didn't need to. I was there. Afterward, we walked together down a quiet street, cold wind pushing dry leaves past our feet. "I'm not the same person you raised," she said. "And I think I used that as a reason to push you away." "You are," I replied. "You're just a later chapter." She didn't say anything for a long time, just stared ahead, hands deep in her coat pockets. "I still don't know what to call you," she finally said. "I don't need a title," I told her. "I just need to matter." She nodded slowly. Then she said something that caught me off guard. "You were the only one who stayed. Not Dad. Not Father. But maybe something more honest. More real. The man who stayed." There's a kind of quiet dignity in being someone's constant. Not because you're obligated, but because you choose it. Again and again. Weeks turned into months. Our rhythm returned, though different this time. I didn't rush in to fix every problem. She didn't push me away when things got hard. We existed in a new space, not as father and daughter in the traditional sense, but as two people shaped by 15 years of shared life. We went grocery shopping once, and she instinctively threw her favorite cereal into the cart. The same one I used to buy for her when she was 8. I didn't say anything, but I smiled the whole drive home. On the anniversary of her mother's death, she came to my apartment. "I didn't want to be alone," she said simply. So we sat together in silence, drank coffee, and shared memories. Some made us laugh. Some made her cry. I didn't offer wisdom. I just sat beside her, like I always used to. Before she left that night, she paused by the door. "I'm glad you didn't stop loving me," she said. I wanted to say something perfect, something profound. But all I managed was, "I never knew how." She hugged me then. Tight. For a long time. It wasn't a reunion. It was something quieter, something better. Acceptance. A few months later, she graduated. She didn't ask me to be there. She didn't have to. I stood in the back row, wearing a suit she once helped pick out. When her name was called, I clapped until my hands ached. And in that moment, I realized something. Family isn't built on blood or even time, it's built on effort. On staying. On forgiving. On choosing someone even when it hurts. She chose me again. And I chose her. Not because I had to. But because love, real love, never asks for proof. It just stays. Thank you all for watching the video, and see you soon.